Ratcliffe City Work Session for Monday, April 8th, 2019 at 5 p.m. at Ratcliffe City Hall. If you'll please rise as Mr. Pike gives us our invocation and remain standing for our pledge.
Dear Lord, thank you for the beautiful day. Thank you for our city and our citizens. We ask that you give the mayor and the council wisdom as they consider the city's business today. Thank you for all of our blessings. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Mr. Clerk, sir, if you'll call the roll.
Barbara Baker,
Present.
Pam DeRoche,
Here.
Edward Palmer, Tanya Seabrooks.
Here.
Kim Thompson, Chris Yates.
Here. Thank you, sir. I did talk with Councilman Thompson earlier last week, and he did advise he wouldn't make it. And then, of course, Councilman Palmer as well said they'd unfortunately be absent. But we did go over the agenda with both of those guys, and so they did know what we would be talking about today and would be updating them when they get back. So, but we'll start with that. Chance Fox, our CFO, is here, and he has an ordinance which was budgeted. That y'all did the ordinance for the budget, and during my budget presentation, as I looked over the budget and found that Chance was wrong in his numbers, and I felt pretty privileged to have to correct the CFO and get him lined out. And so he's here today to express what I found in his budget that's wrong.
I'm sorry for you, Chance.
Chance, no, he had some, it's actually a misprint, a typo.
It actually doesn't affect anything, but the reason this is, I'll tell you in a second what it is, but the reason it's coming up now is because, as you all know, usually around June timeframe, we usually try to do a budget amendment of the budget on things that happen throughout the year. And I wanted this to be out of the way and not be mingled in with anything else that would come up in a June amendment should we need one. Because this is really something that should have been caught by me back in June when we did the budget. The ordinance, on the expense side, you can see there's two strike-throughs under, it's shown under Public Works and capitalization, which is our capital purchases and projects. When you add up the departments, starting from police going down to capital, the way it was originally done, that column actually did not equal 12,259.5. It actually equaled 12,709,500, which is exactly $450,000 difference. And that 450 is actually in the next column. That's the amount of money that we budgeted out of the municipal road aid fund. So I inadvertently added the municipal road aid fund into the general fund column, when in actuality, those always are kept separate.
Mhm.
So it doesn't affect, we're not spending more money, it doesn't affect how much the department is allocated. The column is correct at 12,259, but I needed to back out 450,000 from capital and from public works, and that's where you see the reductions. And then the 450 column is correct, so it was just an oversight on the addition of the columns. So it doesn't affect, anything else.
Chance, they want you speaking to the mic. There's
Is there
one
any
speaking to
questions?
the mic.
Chance?
He's done talking now.
I talk
Sorry.
pretty loud anyway, so.
You can hear him now.
So I just wanted that to come up now in case we have a budget amendment, and then I was trying to explain what happened here, and that be mixed with anything else that we might talk about in June, so.
Yeah, that'll make it clear.
So if we just do the second, we'll do a
So
first reading.
basically, just got picked up inadvertently.
It just simply, I just added the second column in with a first, and I just didn't catch the fact that it was in there, and it came up.
Again, I think I caught that when I did my budget presentation last week.
And I apologize. I obviously didn't add that either.
Well, that's my responsibility. So, it was just an oversight. Again, it's not like we spent money we didn't have, so
Yeah,
it's just on
that.
paper.
I mean, there's a lot of things I do re-add, but I didn't add that.
Well, I appreciate your trust in me, Barbara.
Well, you're welcome.
Well, I told Chance, I think after almost 30 years, we'll give him one.
It is a
One
first.
slip?
That is a first.
Yeah, so I think we'll give him that one.
Which is why I didn't usually add them
Thank
up.
you.
All right, so we'll, first reading and second reading.
Yeah, there's no run. We can do the readings on a normal schedule. There's no need to rush it to everything. so.
All right, thank you, Chance.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next, we have the TAP grant which is the grant that was for the walking trail, but it's the tunnel that goes underneath 31W. Toby was scheduled to be here today, but about noon, he had a personal issue come up that he had to leave and go home for. And so I told him I'd do the best I can and explain this, but if there's any questions that you all could follow up, or just give them to me and I can follow up with Toby. But ultimately, we were awarded this allocation. You all should have a copy of that. It was given to us last week. And so the total cost, and this for those watching at home and the one people here, this is the tunnel that goes underneath 31W as part of that FEMA project that's on the south end of town. The council in the previous administration did vote to move forward with doing that process and doing the match on that grant. So the total grant cost is $519,679. Is the total $519,679. The reimbursement amount from the grant is $415,744, which leaves the city match at $103,936. And that would be our contribution to do that.
How come your numbers don't match?
That was gonna be my question.
That's what numbers Toby gave me today.
Okay, this number.
It doesn't match what's on this
The
form.
400, now, I have to get with Toby, but these are the numbers. Ashley, did Toby give you any difference in that? Because I don't think he did. This is the fact that he gave me.
Yeah, just what you have here,
Yeah, and I
what we
see the
have here is
418.
418, 144, so I was just
So it's an
curious.
80-20 match, but he said the total of that was 519. Total cost 679. So I can ask him that and see what those issues are.
What
But
did we approve out of the budget? I thought it was only like 50,000.
now he has
I-
here city amount to
I
pay
didn't
is
think it was 103,000 either, but
103,936.
104.
Yeah. So
I don't remember it being that high, but I'd have to go back and re-watch.
Chance
the
probably already
video.
left, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 50,000 that we had originally, for some reason, it might have been more, but.
Now, does that include in kind?
There may be some in kind to that. I
So
don't-
maybe
yeah, I
that's
don't
what
know.
it was. Maybe some was in kind and some of it was actual money.
Okay.
So we could probably do that breakdown for that next one.
So for the, you're gonna clarify with him the figure here? and
Yeah,
then
I can
also
clarify the
breakdown?
difference.
Okay.
And then the other thing he had.
And then there's also some documents that we didn't receive as a part of this.
Well, then what?
Can we look at those?
And what's that, Barbara? Which one?
Well, it's all four of these.
Point
One of
contact.
them's declaration of match intent. That may clarify what we're
Okay,
asking.
yep. No, that's fine. And Toby will be back tomorrow, so I can get most of that put together. Now, the main thing is the budget, it won't come out, of course, this year's budget. It'll be budgeted for the 2019-2020 budget. So whatever that number actually is, we'll get clarification and can put that. Now, the cost, oh, I know what the difference may be. It's at the bottom. The cost does include the cameras in the tunnel and the equipment and the Wi-Fi and all that. That may be why that number's a little bit higher on the total cost
Okay.
in the city amount. I don't know, but I'm assuming that may be what it is, because he said the cost does not include. And he may have factored that number in to
Yeah.
the total. Is that, do you think that's,
I would
Tim?
think that's
Did you ever get with him on the
probably, yeah.
cameras or anything?
We quoted it out last year, but I don't remember what,
Okay,
so, I couldn't tell you for sure what the number.
okay,
I know what she said, the wireless protection.
yeah. So I'll get clarification
Mayor,
from him on that.
so can he, okay, so have everything itemized is what he's gonna do, but can he make sure that we get a copy of all of this?
Yeah.
just So we can take a look at it?
Let me see how thick they are.
Yeah.
And it may be something we can put in the reading file if y'all want to come in and sit
It-
down
the
and
reading
look.
file's
Yeah,
fine.
that's
That's
fine.
fine.
Just in
That's
case, and
easy.
if something that's small, like a couple sheets, we'll just email it over.
Yeah.
Jeff can email it over to you.
Yeah, that's
Something
fine.
that's major. And, Ben, what we're talking about, they received the underground tunnel tap grant for the walk path underneath the 31. Yeah, yeah, so that's what we were talking about.
That's good news, good news.
All right, so any questions on that? So I'll try to get you that information. And
Okay.
go from there, but I think it's just basically letting you all know that and then clarification on the rest. All right, next is the Brandenburg Telecom franchise agreement. And so that's been something that's been ongoing now for quite a while. And I actually had a meeting with Allison Willoughby, who's owns it, and tried to get some clarification from her as far as the franchise agreement. And of course, the franchise agreement, and Mr. Pike can clarify, is not just talking about one particular item. It's talking about several different things inside the body, which could be easements, utility work. Am I missing Mr. Pike?
It's access on and in and over our public ways.
Right.
So ultimately, on their part, I know that some council had some discussion about 5, 10-year, 20-year, and they are requesting a 20-year agreement. It's a non-exclusive agreement, which allows anyone, Comcast, Windstream, Spectrum, whoever, still to utilize those services. There was a question come up, Mr. Pike, from one of the council members about the internet side of it and all that. I don't know if you had any information.
Well, Ms. Baker had asked about, does this include their fiber optics if they use video? And I think we need to clarify with them, because normally they do through Brandenburg Telecom, visual, basically digital cable, digital television. And this traditionally was the telephone franchise, I think, that's expired.
Okay.
So we just need to clarify
That we're getting that.
that those are, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
If this is telephone services only, because it's drafted like telephone, but they use the word communication services.
Okay.
So we just want to make sure, we need to verify with them that it's not digital television as well.
Okay.
Or the internet.
Or, yeah,
Okay. So we can get that probably.
yeah, we need to, because they need a franchise for all of that.
I don't see in here where we're asking them to notify us if they're gonna be doing any road work. Are we gonna be asking them to notify us if they're doing anything to our roads or anything?
Yeah, we can, and typically they don't do a whole lot in the road. Most of theirs
Yeah.
is underground.
Or
But it
above.
is in there
Yeah,
saying,
but
you
we
know,
can.
beneath our roadways, so.
This draft was their draft.
Yeah.
So we can add.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that,
it needs work.
It does.
And then I talked to Mr. Pike earlier about on the, I guess, would they be articles, number 3 and 5, maybe putting them closer together so that it's more cohesive when you read it.
Yeah, on the
It doesn't
effective
say
date.
it's article, but
Right.
whatever, 3 and 5, however you would
And then
classify
to
those.
specify the franchise fee amount in paragraph 8.
Yes.
So if we want to specify that amount specifically with leave to change that over time, because I know that's one thing the council was concerned about, and Mayor Weaver was concerned about in the past couple of years with franchise renewals, is if you lock yourself in on a 20-year and you can't change the rate, then, you know, you sort of hamstring yourself.
Right.
If the city wants to look at perhaps a change of that fee amount in the future, so.
Is there a certain amount that now this one goes to the state through the Telecommunications Act. Does that govern it at all?
Well, and it depends on what service it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so some of it we can tax and some of it we cannot.
But I think we could word it where it has an amount on here, and then as fees change or as fees are updated, so that we can go along with that. We're not locked into a set amount for 20 years.
Right, and if-
I think that was the problem we were having earlier. I don't have a problem with 20 years because they are at least utility that actually has a business and presence in Radcliffe. So, you know, I'm glad for that, because everywhere else I gotta go out of town for the phone or the electric or the gas. So I'm glad that they are right here in town.
And whether it's 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, they know they're going to be renewed by the city if they want to extend services again in our city, that whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, they know they're going to get a renewal because, as Barbara said, they've been here for a long time and they're well established and have a lot of customers, and it's not like the city's not going to renew them.
Right.
They're, you know, it's just working out the terms, but the renewal is going to happen whether it's 5, 10, or 20, so.
Well, I don't know, I kind of feel like it doesn't, even though, yes, I give them props for being here for as long as they have been, but I feel more comfortable with something on the 5 or the 10-year. I think that 20 years that's just long. That's a long time, and we're trying to be more progressive, and from that standpoint that I said, I don't think that 20 years is absolutely necessary. I mean, we do have the, you know, they've been here and all that, and I agree with, they've been good community partners, but I think locking someone into 20 years, it just gives a,
No, it is a
We're-
non-exclusive.
No.
It's non-exclusive, so we're really not locking them into
Yeah, we're not keeping
anything.
anybody else out.
because anybody else could come. And I think, I mean, I did speak to a couple of people with the phone company, but not Ms. Willoughby directly. And I think they're wanting the 20-year, the longer time, so that they can make necessarily upgrades. I don't know how they would need to process that, but if you have an agreement that says, look, we're wanting to get the high-speed fiber optics here, and we have a 5-year lease, or we want to bring it to this city and we have a 20-year lease, the 20-year just, you're going to jump on board. You're going to say, okay, you are going to be there, you're committed to that region. Because from what I understand, they have the high-speed optics, fiber optics now limited,
So.
but they're wanting to expand that.
In my conversation with Ms. Willoughby, their reasoning behind that, they just had that approved with the county, is that they, on books for their loans, you know, when they put that infrastructure money in, they've got to show that on their books of how long that they're gonna, I guess, depreciate this out. And the investments there, and that they have the agreement with the city to utilize those infrastructures and right-of-ways in areas. And she said she'd be more than happy to come or send a representative of hers to come here and talk about that if we needed to. And I said, well, let me talk to the council first, see where everybody is, and then we can go
Yeah,
from
let's
there.
talk about it.
But I think at some point, like, we need to get this probably signed.
Let's say we talk about it.
So if that's
I
something you all
mean,
want, I can have
I
her
think so.
schedule something for next, the month of May. If that's what you all want, or it's up to you guys.
Doesn't matter to me.
Are you okay with it?
I'm okay with it. Like I said, it's not to keep anybody else out. It's just
Right.
giving them
And as long as our fees can be updated, have the ability to be updated. I wouldn't want to lock it in for a set amount for 20 years. No, I agree 100%. But, I mean, I'm open to hearing what they have to say, or,
I do want to hear what they have to
Either
say,
way.
because, you know, one of the things is, you want to make sure that, again, that the plan is in place to continue to move things forward. You've been here forever, so, I mean, things are constantly changing, so I'm interested in hearing the plan. Before, I think that's just me, I prefer to hear the plan.
Okay. So next month, schedule a representative to be here.
that's fine. Are they on a time frame? What they need, or when you spoke to her, Mayor?
I think another 30 days won't kill them by any means. I think to get it right for the next 20 years, I don't
For
mind
20
one more
years,
month.
it's 30 days.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
Did you agree, Mr. Parker?
I agree.
All right, so, yeah. So we'll
Everybody
do-
needs to be comfortable heading into it.
Yeah. Make sure both parties do what they say they're gonna do, kind of thing, so. I'll,
You know me, I'm all about asking questions and getting information. so.
Exactly. So,
Never thought-
exactly.
All right. So
You
we'll-
just gave her, why don't we just do it next week so she doesn't have 30 days to come up with questions? Can you imagine how many questions that's gonna be?
You're not gonna get any candy like this, Chris, you know?
Out of order, Chris, out of order. Where's my water?
You ask those questions, Councilwoman Baker? Gotcha.
So we'll put that on the agenda, and then we'll move, so we can go over 5, or 4, so that's 3 and 4, so we'll skip to 5.
Okay, yeah, because
Um,
that one's got issues.
Keep my notes here in order. So this is the draft letter. I don't know if you all had time to look over that, but as you all were approached last year by Hardin County Water District 1 about the water tower in Mill Pond Business Park. Is there any questions on that draft? I don't know, Mr. Pike, if you had enough time to review that yourself, or
Did not draft it.
did you draft it? I thought maybe it came from the
No, I thought
Water
I did.
District.
I thought I did.
Do you want to just start down here then?
Chris, you got anything you'd like to?
We can let Barbara start on her end, because I'm sure she'll answer everything.
Hey, somebody's got to have these questions.
Ms. Baker?
Yes, sir. In D, it talks about the final lot size for the tank will be 100 feet by 100 feet with a larger construction zone necessary. Is that right? So during the building of it, let's say it could be 100 feet by 200 feet, right? And then as they finish, is that other 100 feet that they're using, is that going to be restored?
Yeah, yes, I'm assuming they would restore that back.
Do we need to have that in here, that it would be restored with grass?
The letter of intent is just a preliminary document. We can put as many specifics in there as you like. But it's not gonna be a contract as such.
But it could be that added when you do the
Yeah,
contract, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we talked about, and
H probably clarifies some of that.
yes, yes, and that's why we put paragraph H in, is that it's,
Right,
because as you'll recall, Mr. Bruce at the time, the GM, basically said, we want to do this, and so we'd like an LOI to at least move forward in terms of the idea, and that we're going to agree to agree, which is what a letter of intent or a memorandum of agreement or a memorandum of understanding is. And so it's just sort of the first step to open the door. But in terms of the specifics of what does the construction zone look like and all that, we can be as specific in the LOI as you guys like. There's really no legal downside to it. There isn't necessarily a downside to leaving it out, but you can, yes, if you want to put something like that in there, that's not a problem at all. Anything you guys want to add,
well, I'm
be
just
happy to
thinking that
add.
would help cover us later, and I'm sure they would restore it, but
Sure.
if it's not in there, they wouldn't have to. That's the thing. And then my other concern is, it says a gravel access road shall be required to be constructed to access the tank. And I think we had talked about that being partially gravel and
Yeah.
partially paved, because we wanted at least up by the road for I don't remember what we decided on the feet, but paved so that they're not bringing that gravel through the regular part of it when it is developed. Because I remember that was a whole big deal with the paving. And this letter of intent says gravel, so if I agree to this and then later say, no, I want it blacktop, to me, that's not following through with the letter of intent, so I'd rather bring that out now.
We've talked about this letter of intent at least 3 times, as I recall. And I don't know that I've made any substantive changes to it since we've talked about it, because I don't even remember where we left it the last time, because we talked about gravel versus asphalt.
Right.
That's going back pretty far.
Yeah, I mean, and then as I recall, the water district, they weren't even ready to begin moving on it, so, yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, yes, we can make those specifics in there if you like.
Okay, I would like.
Yes.
I don't remember if we all agreed on that or not, though. I remember we had a long discussion on
About the gravel versus the
it.
blacktop.
And I mean, I don't see any which ways you're coming out of gravel to blacktop, it's gonna be all right. But I don't remember what we all agreed on.
We had agreed that we would have part of it blacktop
That's fine.
for a
I just-
certain amount. I don't remember what that figure was, if
Yeah.
it was 200 feet or
It's been a
300 feet. And then gravel
Yeah.
further back. But what you saw as you were driving on the road would be blacktop, because everybody else up there is gonna have to have blacktop.
Right.
It'll make it a nicer looking part. That's all I had.
No, I do remember that. I just, it has been a while since we last, but I thought we did agree about something with the blacktop. I remember that conversation, and I just probably need to be refreshed on that part.
Chris?
It says on there that we have, you know, we can come up with a logo as long as they approve it. And I think I've come up with one that all the council will approve of.
Is it a picture of you?
I'd like to hand
It
it
better
out.
not be a picture of you, Chris.
Yep.
He didn't care
Yeah, I
about
don't
the
think that's gonna work.
That's not gonna work, Chris. There you go. That's not gonna work, Chris.
I hope you didn't have anybody engineer that.
But I appreciate
We all
your,
would agree to that.
I appreciate your ingenuity on that.
Me one too, Chris.
Out of order.
Okay.
Oh, me, Ben, front page.
Well, that's all you need.
Here's your story for tomorrow morning, Ben. Huh?
That's it. Chris got a logo? What's going on?
And then I'd say probably.
Hey, it was worth a shot.
It was. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You're not gonna get it if you don't
Yeah,
ask.
you gotta ask.
Yeah, this thing's ancient now.
Yeah. Are you gonna fund that? Is it something you're funding, you're out of your own?
Well, you know, we could probably work that out. I mean, if, you know.
All right, so if anybody, so we'll, Mr. Pike will work on getting those changes, and then, I'd say probably next month, we'd like to probably get this taken care of. So move on, it'll be a year, so. Everybody good?
I'm fine with that.
All right, next, appointment to the Planning Commission. We've had a vacancy for a little while on the Planning Commission, and I was able to talk with a young lady in our community that showed interest in being on it. And this, you all should have a copy of that. And Pam has lived here in our Ratcliffe community since 1974. Her husband, Marvin, and her had a business here for over 30 years. She's been in the real estate business since 1995. Her children had went to all of our local schools here, and she belongs to many civic organizations. She currently serves as the president of the Realtors Association, a position she's held in the past. She's frequently here at most of our council meetings and also attends the planning and zoning meetings on her free will. And so I had talked with Pam Featherstone and asked her if she would entertain serving on one of our committees to fill the resignation of Joe Ponder. And so I'm asking if you all, and of course she's here today, and there she's sitting in the back there. And so I'd like to ask to have her appointed to our planning commission, and of course be put on the agenda for next week for a vote.
Okay.
So if y'all have any questions, or, I know you and I still need to have a conversation, but yes, you and I can talk, but nothing to do with you, Pam, something else. But it had to do with some of the committees, so she was asking. But we thank you for your willingness to serve and volunteering to serve. It's not a
For
paid
free.
position. But it is important. The planning commission is one of those that is very important, and Mr. Pike can
Yes.
attest to, that really helps and shapes our community.
I would like to take a moment to say that I've known Ms. Featherstone for several years. We worked together on and off with the Heart of Kentucky Association of Realtors. She's very knowledgeable in the community. She understands real estate and those concepts. Planning Commission, as you guys know, is incredibly important. No slight to any of our other boards, but that's the board that we
Shapes the
probably,
city.
yes, it truly is the Planning and Development Board. It's a board that decides at times very difficult issues, lightning rod issues with development, and it's a tough job. It's not for the faint of heart. We've been fortunate to have a good board over the years, and haven't been sued too many times. When we've been successful. So, but we need good people. We need good, smart, tough-minded people, and that's my endorsement for. No extra charge, no extra mustard, but, it's tough. All of our board members have done a good job.
Yeah, and one thing I had asked Ms. Featherstone, and I told her she'll have to, and she knows this by attending our meetings, but she has to make decisions sometimes that aren't popular and that people will get upset about on that's planning commission, just like you guys. Even though that's a non-elected board, they do make people sometimes mad because they didn't get what they asked for.
Right.
And so she was very willing to understand that and said she will not hesitate to make that tough decision. So appreciate that. So thank you for being here today, and we appreciate it, and we'll put that on the agenda for next week. Next on the agenda is something that I'm bringing to you guys now rather than at budget time. So it has to do with our parks and rec. Tim and I have became very close, not that we wasn't before, but him and I have got to know each other in a different capacity this go around. Not only him being the IT person, but now he's over Parks and Rec. And so I've told Tim in many of our meetings that he is totally in charge of Parks and Rec. It is his baby, it belongs to him, and he has been getting after it as hard as he possibly can. It's a big task. And I think what we realized, Parks and Rec is not something that is a 5-day-a-week job. It's something that if you know anything about our park system, when softball, baseball, and soccer start, Chris and I have had numerous conversations, as well as Barbara, because they've been involved in those park systems for many, many years. if I own a business and we're a 7-day-a-week business and I don't have any employees working in the parks or in my personal business, we're basically just letting people kind of run rampant. And so we depend on volunteers. Over the years, we depend on the leagues to manage themselves. And I don't think that's really a good way to do this. And so last year, you guys had approved 2 part-time people. Prior to that, there was 3 part-time people, and that was reduced to 2
During the budget,
during the budget session. Yes, ma'am. And-
because of the foresight of the retirement issue.
Yep, I'd say probably some
It
of that,
was.
yes, ma'am. And so, in doing so, we have nobody right now currently working in the park system on the weekend. And the way well, we do, but the way it's set up, whoever's working that system, there's actually 3 people that's actually in the park system. So to run our City Park North, our Dolly Park, our Duval Park, Saunders Springs, we only have 3 people. Sim, John, and Jean. And they do a great job for what the responsibilities they have, but it's very overwhelming. And so over the last, I think, 2 budget cycles that Tim and I talked, he's had a hard time hiring part-time help because no one wants to do the part-time and then they just leave. I think you said you'll get one working for a couple weeks and they just leave. And those are hard jobs to fill. And so in doing that, I had talked to Tim, we went out to the parks and looked, and basically, we have somebody that works 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, on Saturdays, 2 hours in the morning, on Sundays, 2 hours at night. And so that leaves our parks basically open to themselves. There's no one running them, there's no one managing them. And so the suggestion I have to you all is to look at doing away with the 2 part-timers and combining that into a full-time grade 3 parks person. That pay will begin at $38,000. That's the total package with the benefits. That's about a $4,800 difference between what we currently have budgeted and what we would be changing. And so the reason for that is, right now, Sim and those guys who are in the parks are still having to cover that. And the suggestion would be that this person hired would be from Wednesday to Sunday. They would get Monday and Tuesday off, and they would know that when they're hired. That way, we have a full-time person running between the parks, and if something goes wrong, if something's happening, then there's somebody on staff that these coaches or the leagues can call and immediately can respond. Chief Cross and I had a meeting late last week and talked about more police presence in the park, getting out of the car, walking around, getting a soda, getting a hot dog, whatever the case may be, but having more presence in the parks. And Chief assured me that he would take that responsibility on and make sure that we have that. Now, if they're on a call and they can't be there, then completely understandable. But we need to have some more police presence, and we definitely need to have a full-time person in the parks. If we're going to be open 7 days a week, then we need to have somebody staffing it 7 days a week.
I agree. I think that working 4 hours at a split shift, I'm sure nobody wants to work that.
Yeah.
It's much better to do a full day and then have a full day off
Yeah.
instead of just partial days off. And I don't want to tell you what to do because you're the mayor, you're in charge.
Can you say it louder, because I don't think Jeff got that on his.
Okay,
Speaking in the microphone, get real close to it.
for the record. But as you say, Wednesday through Sunday, I was thinking if you did it Thursday through Friday, then or Thursday through Monday, then Monday they could come and say, this needs to be repaired with everybody else, so you're not calling them on their day off if they have to report something. It was just a thought.
Yeah, and that's something Tim could probably do. One of the other things we talked about is just in case that person, whoever hired, may have a vacation, may need something to take off, a sick person, then they would be able to rotate those
To
people out.
rotate some, yeah.
Yeah.
You would also have to keep in mind that sometimes they start on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
In the end.
They don't end until 8 or 9 at night.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're planning on 12-hour days or if
No, what-
splitting it up just so there's a presence there
What we
majority
talked-
of the day or what?
Yeah, what we had talked about is if that person ends up leaving or having to leave early, they would go through knowing what time their shift went in. They'd get the garbage, pick up the garbage. If the garbage is not overwhelming, then Sunday morning when they come back, they'll be able to pick it up and clean it up or do that. And right now, our police department currently locks those parks. So if they had to leave early or something or had to stay later, then the police would definitely be the ones still performing that task. So,
And if there was a problem, they could still call the police
They
or
could still
Parks
call.
Department, like we're doing now when
Yeah.
nobody's there.
yeah, but Tim, even at Calvin, he's there 7 days a week. So I think when you have a rental, you have these people. And so our way of solving that was to do that. Pool season's getting ready to open. So all that process is happening right now, and so.
Are we
I-
still keeping a manager at the pool?
To this year, yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's still there. The main issue is, the buildings, the structures, the infrastructure, the parks. If we're gonna keep them, we gotta maintain them. And, there's been we've let them go for a little while, and we need to put some money in them this year. So part of my budget's gonna have quite a bit of money donated or committed to the park system to get them,
Back
Did you
up
say you was
to speed.
donating money to the park system?
committed money to the park system.
I heard donate.
So we just gotta work to, we need to give Tim the resources to keep these parks going, and Tim and I have been hacking at it for the last few weeks, and so hopefully at budget time, we'll present you something.
So this would be a City of Radcliffe employee and not a Spartan employee?
Correct. Anything else?
Good.
All right. So with that, Barbara, you wanna start?
I can start. I have about 3 things. One thing that we need to be aware of and mention, I don't know that everybody in the city is familiar with, our Radcliffe Senior Citizens Nutrition Group. That is held on Tuesdays and Fridays back at Radcliffe Calvin Community Center from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And if you're over 60, it includes your lunch. And they just get along, have, sometimes they have programs which gives them information about things with insurances and different things that meets their needs. And then they also play bingo and rook and some games, and they always seem to enjoy it down there. And anybody that's interested in the Senior Citizens Nutrition Group, if they contact the Calvin Community Center, they'd be glad to give them some more information. I'm gonna have to mention this one till the time is in April the 13th. The Spring Fling, the craft and vendor event for the community center, that is from 8 to 4. And if anybody wants to be a vendor for that event, contact again the community center. April the 13th. On a Saturday, yes, thank you. And then the last thing I have is we have swim lessons for this year, starting up. The sign-ups begin May the 1st. It's $50 per session. The sessions, you have a morning session and a PM session, so I won't go through the times right now. But the sessions are June 3rd through the 13th, June 17th through the 27th, July 1st through the 11th, and then July 15th through the 25th. And they have, the class is canceled, they'll have a makeup day. But it's $50. We want to make sure the kids are able to learn to swim. The instructors are lifeguards, and they're all certified and do a wonderful job. And that just keeps everybody a little safer if they have that ability. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Mr. Roach?
Tomorrow, Tuesday, the 9th, at noon here at Calvin, Radcliffe Small Business Alliance will be hosting Meet the Experts. We will have a panel, and that panel will consist of Dustin Humphrey with Skeeters Bennett Wilson and Humphrey attorneys, Robert Coffey, who is the director of the U.S. Small Business Administration from Louisville, Patricia Crossman with the Kentucky Small Business Development Center, and Bert Walker, who is a successful entrepreneur, venture capitalist, and author. So that board will be speaking tomorrow. We also have an anniversary coming up for North Hardin Insurance. The date for that will be
24th.
Is it the 24th? April the 24th at noon at their
Is that
location.
50 years?
60 is what they're
60.
saying, 60 years.
Yeah, they did the 50 10 years ago.
So join us in their celebration.
We're gonna have to get a big frame for that one.
Also, on April the 17th, there's going to be a community town hall meeting with Major General John Evans at the
Pat.
Performing Arts Center. That will be, again, it's
That's
on
at
April
John Hardin.
17th, John Hardin, 6 p.m. So all are invited to attend that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman?
Yeah, I was sitting here trying to write them all down. Okay, I'm sorry. Just wanted to acknowledge everyone who will be participating in Spring Holiday. I would say something different, but I want to make sure I do not offend anyone. So that third weekend is coming up. There's a Good Friday, there's a Saturday and a Sunday. So however you celebrate, I would like everybody to have a safe weekend that weekend. Also, on April 21st will be the community basketball game fundraiser. There's Fort Knox, there's the North Hardin Ministerial Association, and countless other players that will be participating at North Hardin. And I believe that's from 10 to 2. I think Dwayne Nunley and Marcus Dixon. Yeah, the pastors are all involved with that. So, great way to come out to the community, enjoy the fun. Again, right here in the city. The other thing I would like to mention, this is super, super important. April 22nd is the very last day to register to vote. We have a very serious election. Every election is serious, but April 22nd is the very last day. Anybody want to register to vote? Very simple. Go vote Kentucky. Well, go vote ky.gov. Less than 2 minutes, and you'll be able to participate in a primary election for all the state candidates who are running, governor on down. Please make sure you get on that.
We have a correction. Can we do our correction first?
Can Chris not?
It's not April 24th.
It's
No.
the 26th. Friday, the 26th.
The 20,
On North Hardin Insurance
North Hardin
60th anniversary celebration.
the 24th is when I'm going to Paducah for the quilt show.
Gotcha.
Okay.
As it should be.
They're close. That was close. Yeah.
Just want to remind everyone, spring cleanup's still going on, so if you have trash or garbage you need hauled off, put it out to the curb, we'll come and get it.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say. That's so good, yep. The other thing I want to mention too, piggyback, grass season has started. People are starting to mow their grass. People are starting to get out and cut. That's one of our biggest things during this time for code enforcement is dealing with the people that won't cut their grass. So please, please, take the time to help clean our city up.
Can you mention how they should cut the grass?
as
Not
far
into the
as-
roadway.
Not into the roadway.
Not to the roadway. Do the best you can not to cut it out in the roadway. We are working right now, we're working on ourselves to clean up our city, beautification. I was out with our Public Works Director last Thursday and Friday, looking at many different things that we need to address. In fact, I saw Ms. Baker and Mr. Yates out there at the same time I was out. And so the city's working on itself to clean it up. Like Chris just mentioned, April cleanup goes the end of this month. You can check our website out, our Facebook page to see what all the city will pick up. I was trying to think if there's anything else we need to touch base on. Working on the budget, guys. So
That's
with our
ongoing.
department heads, we're hoping by the end of May, and start our, like we have in the past, start our budget cycle about the first week of June. And
Do
so
we need to go ahead and look at dates for that? Should we go ahead and set a date?
we'll do it next, maybe at the work session. Let me see how far through we get. I've got meetings with all the department heads, and so, so we'll try to get that scheduled and then give you all some dates that works best for everybody. Don't forget, tomorrow is our pictures.
3 o'clock.
Yeah, so you got that, yep. Pictures, update some of these photos and get Miss Pam hung on the wall, so, but other than that, I don't think we have anything. Next scheduled council meeting is for Tuesday, April 16th, 2019 at 6:30 here at Ratcliffe City Hall. If there's nothing else,
City Hall will be closed the 19th.
City Hall will be
Friday.
closed April 19th.
Good Friday. Excuse me, spring holiday this year.
So, Mr. Pike, you don't have anything to add?
No, sir.
If not, Jeff's gonna break his fingers typing all this if we don't stop.
Jeff, stop writing.
Talk all month. I'm gonna put who was here and who wasn't. Call her done.
All right.